Hi, thanks for joining me today. I'm Ewashkiw from Adventure Yoga, and this is a 25-minute yoga practice for beginners who have low blood pressure, but it's also appropriate for beginners with high blood pressure. We're not going to do any poses where your head goes below your heart today. We will do some where your arms stretch up overhead, and if you have high blood pressure, you may want to keep your arms at your sides for those poses. There is one prop I would like you to have today, and it's a blanket or a cushion. So you can use any blanket or towel. You can use a cushion. I'm going to use a bolster from the bed. So whatever you've got, it's going to go under your heels for a few poses that we do and under your butt for a few poses. Grab that, unroll your mat, and I will see you there in just a few seconds. Welcome, and thanks for joining me for class today. Please stand at the top of your mat. Have your feet about hip distance apart, your toes pointing straight ahead. Stretch your arms down at your sides and look straight ahead. Tadasana. Mountain pose. Notice your breath. Notice how you feel. And welcome yourself to your practice. Thank yourself for carving out this time for yourself today. Roll your shoulders back and forward, and then change direction. Go forward, back, forward, and back. And then stretch your arms up. With your right hand, turn your right thumb forward, grab your left wrist, stretch up, and side bend to the right. Crescent Pose, or Dushashana. Push your hips to the left a little. With your right hand, pull on your left hand. And then come out to center and change sides. Turn your left thumb forward, grab your right wrist, stretch up, and then side bend to the left. Dushashana, or Crescent Pose. Push your hips to the right a little. With your left hand, pull on your right hand to help you get a little deeper into the side bend. But it's up to you how far you go. Come up to center and go back to the right again. Hold your left wrist, side bend to the right. Come up to center, hold your right wrist with your left hand, and side bend to the left. Come up to center, and bring your arms back down to your sides. Tadasana. Now I'm going to turn and face the top of my mat, which is probably where you're facing, but it doesn't really matter which way you face. We're going to do a standing thigh stretch. So you might want a wall for your opposite hand to help with support. So you can bring your left hand onto your waist or left hand to the wall. Bend your right knee, reach back and grab your right foot. If that's not available, you can always pause the video and go get a belt or a towel to wrap around your foot so that you can grab it. Pull your heel towards the outside of your right hip. Stretch your right knee straight down and push your butt forward until you feel your right quads, the upper front of your right leg, stretching. And you can keep pushing your hips forward to get a little more stretch if that's what you'd like. Move your shoulders back, stretch up through your spine. And steady your breath. And then release your right foot. If you're using the wall, you probably want to turn around 180 degrees so that you can use the wall for the other side. Bend your left knee, reach back and grab your foot. Stretch your left knee straight down. Pull your heel towards the outside of your left hip. And then push your hips forward to get a little stretch in your left quads. The more you stick your butt forward, the more you're going to stretch your quads. The more you pull your left heel towards your outer hip, the more you're going to stretch your quads. It's up to you though. Release your foot and shake it off. Turn your toes out. We're going to come down into a squat. So I asked you to get a blanket or a block for class today, or a thick book. You might want that for this pose. I'll show you what you would do. So this is my blanket. It's really a bolster roll. I'm going to set my heels onto the bolster roll. Come into a squat, bend your knees, and lower. So if you're using a blanket, you can roll it up into a nice tight roll. I don't want to sit on the blanket. I want my heels on the blanket. Bring your arms inside your legs. Bring your hands in front of your heart. So my butt is actually touching my bolster, but I'm working to not just dump into that and sit down. Instead, I'm pushing through my feet. So push through your feet, lift up through your spine, and then take your right arm out to the side, touch the ground, push your right arm into your right leg, push your right leg back into your right arm, look to the left, and stretch your left arm up. Twist a little bit to the left. And come back to center. Bring your hands in front of your heart. If you don't have a blanket or a block to put under your heels here, that's fine. Ideally, I want your feet wide enough apart that your feet are flat on the ground. But if that's not available today and your heels have to be off the ground, that's okay. You'll just have a little more challenge with the stability in the pose. Stretch your left arm out to the side. Place your left hand on the ground. Push your left arm back into your left leg. Push your left leg back into your right arm, or forward into your right arm. Look to the right and stretch your right arm up. And twist to the right a little bit. And come back to center. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. And now you can actually sit down on your blanket roll, if that's available. Sit down, fall back a little bit. Now we're going to use your blanket roll or your book or whatever you've got, and I'm going to have you sit on it. So place it underneath your butt. Stretch your legs out in front of you. And then take your right leg and cross it over your left leg. You can keep your knee lifted like this, or some of you might be able to grab your right ankle, grab your right knee, and then slide your right foot over to the left so that you get your right knee more stacked on top of your left knee. Somewhere in there is a good place to be. Somewhere between here or here, whatever's available for you today. Then stretch your right arm up and bend your right elbow. Place your hand on your head or on your back. With your left hand, reach up and grab your right elbow. Move your right elbow over to the left as much as you can. So for me, it's quite far. For you, it might be less far. If you can hook it behind your head, do that, and then push your head back into your arm. But wherever you are, sit up tall and push down with your left hand. Pull your right elbow to the left. So we're working to get a shoulder opener here. And we're stretching our right hip. And then release your right arm and left arm and uncross your right leg. Bend your left leg, cross it over your right leg, and you can stay with your knee up again, or hold the front of your left ankle with your right hand, hold the front of your left knee with your left hand, and start to move your left foot over to the right and work to get your knee closer to stacked over your right knee. Somewhere in that range, go for that. Stretch your left arm up, bend your left elbow, place your hand either on your head or between your shoulder blades if that's available. Already, this is a good stretch for your triceps, the back of your upper arm. Take your right hand, hold your left elbow, and then pull it over to the right as far as is available to you to get a nice shoulder opener and deepen the stretch of your triceps. Then push down with your right hand into your left elbow. If your arm is hooked behind your head, push your head back into your arm to get more shoulder opener. And everybody stretch up through your spine. This is half of a pose called Gomukhasana, means cow face pose. So if it's making you feel like making some sort of weird faces, like, oh God, Stephen, why are you making me do this? That's part of embodying the pose, cow face pose. Release your arms and release your leg. Move your left leg over to the left a little and turn your right leg out and bend your right knee. Bring the sole of your foot inside your left leg. This is the setup for a pose we call Dushashana. I'm not going to tell you what it translates as because it's a little intimidating. Instead, we're going to do this by sitting upright. So again, if you've got your blanket roll or you've got a book or a block to sit on that. Turn and face your left leg. And then wherever you can hold your left leg while keeping your left leg straight, do that. So for some of you, it might be your upper leg. For some of you, it might be below your knee. For some of you, you might be able to get your hands a little bit closer towards your ankle. or even hold your left foot if you have really flexible hips. But it doesn't matter. Wherever you can, hold your leg, keep your left leg straight, and stretch up through your spine. If you know this pose, often we do this folding forward, but when we're working with low blood pressure, it's important to keep your head above your heart, so we're just going to do this upright. Stretch up through your spine. Pull on your left leg. Stick your butt back to feel a little more stretch in the back of your leg. And then sit up, release your left leg, and change side. Stretch your right leg out so that your right heel's sort of at the edge of your mat. And then bend your left leg, turn your left leg out, bring your left foot to the inside of your right leg. Dushashana is what this pose is called. Turn and face your right leg. Stretch up through your spine. Keeping your right leg straight, hold it somewhere. So it can be, again, on your quads, it can be below your knee, it can be on your ankle. Don't fold forward. So if you're used to this pose, we often do this folding forward. Instead, stretch up through your spine and keep pulling on your leg. Think about sticking your butt back behind you. That'll help you fold forward a little and get a little more stretch for your upper back leg, your hamstrings. And then release it. I'm going to turn 90 degrees so you can see me, but you can just stay there. And then bend your right knee, bring the soles of your feet together. So this is another pose where having something to sit on is really useful to help your hips lift up so that you can even get a little more tip forward of the pelvis. It doesn't matter how far away your feet are from your hips. Find the spot where you can get your feet together. That's step one. And if you can bring your feet a little closer to your hips, do that as step two. Hold your toes and sit up tall. Push your feet into each other and stretch out through your inner thighs. Over time, you might find your knees getting a little closer to the ground, your hips getting a little more open. Cool, that means you're practicing yoga. To help with that, engage your butt. So think about your butt muscles, tighten them up. Push your feet together and stretch through your inner thighs. This one's called Baddha Konasana. It means bound angle pose, but in English we generally call it cobbler's pose or shoemaker's pose. And steady your breath. Place your hands on your inner thighs, push down a little, and lift your knees up. For now, that's all we're going to use the blanket for. We might use it again at the end. Place it off to the side, and then stand in Tadasana at the top of your mat. Have your feet about hip distance apart, toes pointing forward, stretch your arms down at your sides. And then, step your right leg back, lift your right heel up, and bring your right knee down to the ground. Walk your right knee back a little more, lift your chest up. Bring your hands to your hips. You can always use the wall for stability here, or you can also get a chair and have a chair nearby for that. If your right knee hurts, you can get your blanket back and put the blanket under your right knee, or an easier thing to do, just because it's always there, is flip your mat over. Just doubles it up, makes it a little thicker. Bring your hands to your heart. Twist to the left. Take your right arm, touch it outside your right leg. Sorry, your left leg. That's your left leg. And twist a little bit. If hooking your arm isn't available, you can always push with your left arm and twist to the left without hooking your right arm. You still get the twist in your upper body. It's good to get all the movements into your spine. Come back to center. Place your hands on your waist. Tuck your right toes under if you made your right foot flat. Hand, foot, they confuse me sometimes. Push down through both feet. Lift your right knee up, says hopefully, and step it forward. Step your left leg back a little bit. Walk it back a little more. And bring your left knee down to the ground. If you were using the wall for support, you might want to turn around 180 degrees so the wall is there for your right hand. Or if you're using a chair, you can move it over to the right side. Bring your hands in front of your heart and twist to the right. Lean in a little and touch your left arm outside your right leg. And again, if it's not possible to touch your left arm outside your right leg, you can hold your right leg with your right hand and just twist your upper body without hooking the arm. It's all twisted lunge. Steady your breath. And then come back to center. Bring your hands onto your waist, tuck your left toes under if you place your left foot flat. Dream big, push through your feet, straighten your left leg, and step forward. Cool. Then turn to face the long edge of your mat. Stand in the middle of your mat. So the middle of your mat in Tadasana. Feet about hip distance apart, toes pointing straight out, arms at your sides. Then step your left foot to the top of your mat. Step your right foot towards the back of your mat. Have your feet wide, but not so wide you lose your stability. Look at your left foot. Turn it forward 45 degrees. So just turn it forward about halfway to straight. Push down through the ball of your left foot and turn your left heel in 45 degrees. If your left foot wasn't completely straight at the end of that, just straighten your left foot and have your right foot parallel to the short edge of your mat. So your left foot is parallel to the long edge of your mat, right foot is parallel to the short edge of your mat. My mat has these awesome lines on them, so I can use them to really check my alignment. So my left foot is really in the middle of my mat. I know that because of this line. And then have your right foot in the middle of your mat as well, so that your left heel cuts through the middle of your right foot. Bring your hands onto your hips. And then bend into your left knee a little bit. Push your left knee forward, lower your hips. Work to not turn your right hip forward, but move your right hip back. That's going to make your left knee turn in. Instead, work to point your left knee forward and right hip back and tuck your butt underneath you. Stretch your arms out to your sides. Yeah, it's a lot of things. This is called Warrior 2. And steady your breath. Eventually, we're working for knee over ankle, and then thigh parallel to the ground. But eventually. Turn your left palm up towards the ceiling, and then start to reach back. Take your right hand, slide it down your right leg. Don't push a lot of pressure into your right leg. Use your legs to support you. And reach back, look up, and curl back. This is called reverse warrior. Steady your breath. And come back up to warrior 2. Straighten your front leg. Now we're going to do that 2-stage turn of the foot to get our feet parallel again. So turn your left toes in, turn your left heel out. Turn your right toes out, turn your right heel in, and then adjust as you need to. Just straighten your right foot so it's parallel to the long edge of your mat, straighten your left foot so it's parallel to the short edge of your mat. And bend into your right knee for warrior 2 on this side. So think about 3 things here. There's lots to think about, so think about 3 things. Move your left hip back, and stretch your right knee forward, and tuck your butt underneath you. That's plenty for today. Look forward. Warrior 2, or Virabhadrasana 2. Turn your right palm up, and then reverse warrior. Slide your left hand down your left leg, reach your right arm back, and curl back. Look up. With your left hand, just use it for guidance along your left leg. Support yourself with your legs. So don't push with your left hand into your knee. That can be an uncomfortable or dangerous position. Stretch your right knee straight ahead. Lower your pelvis a little more. Then come back up into warrior 2. And straighten your right leg. Turn your right heel out. Right toes in. Bend your knees and step your feet together. And turn and face the front of your mat. I'm going to stay facing the camera though, so you can see me if you're using the visual as guidance. Have your feet about hip distance apart, toes straight ahead, arms at your sides. Tadasana, mountain pose. And then bend your elbows. Take your right arm, take your upper arm underneath your left upper arm. So take your left elbow over your right elbow. That's another way of saying that. Cross your arms, push your left arm down into your right. Move your right hand towards you, move your left hand away from you. And then maybe you'll also be able to bring your hands together. If that's available, do it. If it's not, stay with your hands apart. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what I'm doing a little bit more here. Pull your elbows down as far as you can. This is a good shoulder stretch. We're going to do 3 stages of this. So shoulders, elbows down first. And breathe. And then elbows as high as your shoulders. And then elbows as high as you can. We're going to add one more piece. It's a different pose coming in. Bend your knees. Stick your butt back and sit deeply. So this is a combination of 2 poses, so we can do double work here. You're welcome. Then stand up and uncross your arms and shake it off, roll your shoulders, and then come back to mountain pose, Tadasana. Bend your elbows. Take your right arm over your left arm under your right, cross your upper arms, push your right elbow down onto your left arm. Move your right hand away from you, left hand towards you, and then move your left hand over to the left, right hand to the right, and maybe you can bring your hands into prayer or some variation of that. And if not, just keep your hands away from each other. Pull your elbows down and breathe. So what you're doing with your arms is part of a pose called eagle pose. Often the legs are involved in this as well in a different way than we're involving them. But it's eagle arms. I guess it's like your wings folded up. Lift your elbows as high as your shoulders. Breathe deeply. And then lift your elbows up as high as you can. And bend your knees. Stick your butt back. Sit deeply. Sit as deeply as is comfortable for you. What you're doing in your lower body is part of a pose that we generally call chair pose. So it's a bit like you're sitting in a chair. And smile, because fun times. And then stand up. Bring your arms to your sides. Tadasana. Roll your shoulders back a couple times. And roll your shoulders forward a couple times. And then if you've got a blanket, grab it and sit on it. Blanket, book, block, whatever you've got. Sit on it. Cross your shins or sit however is comfortable for you. If sitting isn't really comfortable for you, you can sit on a chair. Like sitting on the ground isn't comfortable, you can sit on a chair or you can just stand. That's also fine. Stretch your spine up. Close your eyes for a moment. Steady your breath. Thanks for practicing today. My hope is that this practice gets you into your body a little bit, helps you become a little more aware of what your body is doing, where it is in space, and how you can be in charge of where you take it and how much stretch, how much opening, how much focus you put into your practice. It's all up to you, even though I'm here to guide you and push you a little bit. At the end of yoga, we often say Namaste. I often say it at the beginning of class too. It's got lots of deep meanings to it, but for simplicity's sake, I like to think of Namaste as meaning I see you. It's a recognition of each other as human beings. We usually do it as a call and response when we're in class together. So the teacher says it, then the students say it back. If you'd like to join me in this, please do. Bring your hands together in front of your heart in the prayer position. Sit up tall. Thanks for practicing today. Namaste. Thanks so much for joining me for practice today. I hope you really enjoyed class, and if you did, please give it a little thumbs up like so that other people can find it. If you'd like to do a meditation with me, there's a meditation right there I recommend. And if you haven't subscribed, you can click on my picture there to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks so much, Omis. Have a fantastic day. I hope to see you soon.